And her husband's a teacher in Wilton, too.
And who's Carl?
That's my nephew. That's my brother's boy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So.
And him and Chad are, they had their 2 kids real close together. So Shannon's the oldest, and then Nicole, and then Chad, and then Carl. So Robert had 2 kids right the same age as my 2 kids.
You're freaking related to everyone.
Did you know Nicole then? Remember her? She graduated with Chad.
Yeah. Man, it seems like there's so many people. Well, here we are. We're on, Paul. Thank you.
We're on right now.
We're on. Paul Beatty is here on the show on Joe Braemeier Presents. Thanks for coming on, Paul. Paul Beatty's a Wiltonite, so yep. You've been on my punch list to get you in here. So here we are, Paul Beatty, and we were talking when you first got in here that you're one of those people that everyone knows in town, but I bet if you went up and said, name me as quick as you can, name me 10 things about Paul Beatty, there'd be family members that could, but the general public would be like, well, I know Paul, like he's a great guy, but I want to get to know you, right? And that's kind of the point of this thing. So welcome.
Okay, thank you. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, all of a sudden, we've been sitting here shooting the breeze for the last half an hour, waiting to go live, and now but don't worry. There's probably like one person watching this, and it's probably my mom. So don't worry about it. Just imagine my mom sitting here on the couch.
Well, I went to school with your mom and dad. So.
We might as well pick up right where we left off. You're related to a bunch of people in town that I don't think a lot of people realize. Like, name me 1 or 2 people that you could say you're directly related to that people might go, really? I didn't know that.
Well, Lynn Ochiltree that runs the candy kitchen, he's my nephew. Lois, his mom, is my sister.
So Lynn Ochiltree's sister or mom is your sister.
Yes.
I bet you the majority of people didn't know that. Okay, who else?
And then Joe Burnett, the superintendent at the school, his mom is my sister.
That's wild. So you are the uncle of Lynn Ochiltree
and Joe Burnett. 2 people that are known pretty well in Wilton. Yeah.
That's incredible. Because they look old and you look young. So you guys look like you could just be cousins.
There you go.
Right? Yeah. So good for you.
Yeah.
You're kind of like your family is like spread out all through town. Like there's a lot of cousins, a lot of nephews, a lot of nieces, right? If you had to I've asked this question to Jane Krameyer because the Maurer clan is huge, right? If you were to say, I'm going to have a party and I'm going to invite all my family, like uncles, nieces, nephews, all that stuff. If you had to guess, how many people do you think would be there?
This is a crazy story because me and Lois have figured this up once. If just our immediate family with marriage, their kids and their kids' kids, just on the Beatty side, there's 106 of us.
Holy smokes. That's incredible. Yeah. Really? You actually figured it up?
Yeah. And here 2 or 3 Christmas ago, we rotate where we get together with the Beattys once a year, and we wanted to have it at our house. And our house is 24 by 48, but we have a garage that we built on when I got hurt. And so we had that, and we had 84 Beattys in our house for Christmas.
That's incredible. That should be like a standing challenge around town.
Yeah.
Like, are there any other family units in town that can list out direct relatives? You're not talking like third relatives, cousins and stuff like that. Direct relatives, 106 in the Beatty clan.
Yeah. And so, and to have it in that small environment, but it was great because we was all, close, and we fixed up the garage and had the food in the kitchen, and you go through the house, and it worked out great. And had a great turnout.
Why do I associate Paul Beatty with Wilton High School wrestling?
Because the biggest thing when I was growing up, my mom and dad didn't care if I did sports, but I love sports. And my brother Marvin, who's 10 years older than me, they started Wilton Wrestling when Dale Kramer came to town, and they let him go out for wrestling. And so they couldn't deny me going out because they let Marvin go out. So me and Robert both got to go out for wrestling, but they wouldn't let us play baseball. They wouldn't let us play football. They wouldn't let us do any other
Only
sport
wrestling.
because they let Marvin do it. So that's how I got started in wrestling. And I wanted to play football so bad, and they would never let me. And then 2 years after I got out of high school, Kramer tells me, I talked to your dad for a long time trying to let you go out for football. And he went, I said, man, if you would have told me that, I could have had that to go back on and say, Kramer, he wants me out.
Yeah.
But he never told me until after I graduated.
What was the holdback?
Because we had work to do at home.
And that's the way it was. You had a farm to run, right?
And then my mom thought football, all they do is pile on top of each other. But we get together, Dean Dinkman's one of our really good friends. We'd get together on Sunday and play tackle football. I says, Mom, we're playing tackle football with no pads, no helmets or nothing in my yard, but why can't you have pads and helmet on? But she would never let me.
Oh,
and I wanted to play. That's one thing I regret in my life is I wanted to play football so bad. I never got to. But they let me go off for wrestling because they let Marvin go off for wrestling. And so that's how I got started in wrestling. So then I fell in love with that because that was the only sport I got. So then when I had a son, I thought I'm going to let him be a wrestler too.
And that's when Chad came along, which we'll talk about Chad here in a second. But going back to the sport thing, like your parents not wanting you to play sports because there was work to do at home, or they didn't quite understand it. So what they don't understand, they don't want you to be involved in.
It was more of the work at home because
Dad
could care less about sports. All he cared about was taking care of the livestock and working at home. Matter of fact, I missed one tournament one time, and I was so sad because I was home scooping manure, and I could have been at a wrestling tournament. He was happy as can be because it was Saturday, and I was getting this barn cleaned out.
Wow.
That he was happier with that than if I come home with a medal from the tournament.
Boy, nowadays, it's parents forcing their kids to go out for sports they don't even want to go out for. They're like, enough with the sports. And not everybody, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. It's a whole different thing now. It's kind of a sad story. You're scooping manure when you could be at a wrestling tournament. But is that why you most likely, one of the key reasons why you excelled? Because you got to put all your effort into that one sport? I
suppose.
You don't seem like a guy that brags a lot, but you were pretty good in wrestling.
Oh, I did all right, but I wasn't near as good as my son. But
well, different times though too.
Right.
Like it's all relative. So in your era, you were in that era's caliber of athlete.
Yeah,
you were considered a good wrestler.
Yeah. Well, my freshman year, I had 7 guys at my weight, and I was the top guy at my weight.
For one team?
For Wilton. We had a lot of guys out for wrestling back then.
You had 7 guys at the same weight?
Yes. There were 7 of us at 115 my freshman year of high school.
Were kids a lot thinner back then?
Apparently, I could.
Like, because my dad tells me he wrestled at like 62 pounds or something like that. I'm like, did nobody eat? Like, was everybody just working themselves to death on a farm back then?
I don't know. It's kind of weird.
So there were 7 guys at $115, and you had to wrestle. You had to wrestle off all those guys.
Every meet, Kramer had us wrestle off. They don't do it like they do now. You wrestle off 2 or 3 times, and you got the spot. We wrestled off for every single meet.
That's
all 7
wild.
of us, just like a mini tournament every time.
Oh my gosh!
So to get to be the top guy, you had to wrestle 3 times. You had to beat 3 guys.
So you were good. Oh, you were a good wrestler back then.
Well, I wasn't nothing outstanding. But.
So, okay. And you've just always been involved in the program. Then you wrestle. You're staying around Wilton. You have Chad.
And another thing, I was young too, because I was 17 when I graduated from high school. So another year would have helped me with wrestling too, But,
oh yeah,
because when I graduated, I was still 17. I didn't turn 18 until end of September.
Can I ask you a personal question? Before you say yes or no, I'll just ask it. Did your parents come to all the meets, or were they at the farm?
They did not come to all the meets.
Did they come to any?
Yes, but they didn't go to the weigh meets.
So just the home ones. And were those kind of few and far between too? Like, was it a special thing if mom and dad were both there?
You want to hear a crazy story?
I do.
So when Robert went out for wrestling, it got to where they didn't want to come and get him all the time.
Robert, your brother.
He's a year older.
Okay.
And he went up to Coach Kramer and he says, I'm quitting. He goes, what are you quitting for? He says, because I ain't got a way to get home. And Kramer says, I don't want you to quit. You stay out and I'll make sure you get home. So Chicken, Gary Stimmel, he would bring him home a lot of times, and sometimes he couldn't. Kramer himself would bring Robert home for wrestling practice.
Wow.
And then, this is really crazy because we hardly ever come to town. When I wrestled in the Wapello tournament, and so did Robert, they picked us up, where Rosalie Hafner lives on Highway 38.
Okay. I don't, but out there.
Halfway to Muscatine, the bus would pick us up there and then take us down to Wapello, because that way we didn't have to come all the way down.
How great is that?
And anyway, so the funniest story is we're coming home from the Wapello tournament. I don't remember what year, my sophomore year maybe, and we stop at
just the intersection.
No, the Dairy Queen that the guy from Wilton owns. What's it called?
Artie's? No, right here in town?
No, on Highway 30 in Muscatine.
Oh, what is that? In town there.
Right, the guy that owned Junction owns it.
Who is it, Casey?
Used to be
Tees?
called... Yeah, Tees.
Tees.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Tees.
All right, so we stop at Tees to call Mom and Dad to pick us up at Hafner's on the way home. He goes in there to call, and it's on fire.
The building is.
It's on fire.
The ice cream shop.
Yeah, so somebody on the bus, Maurer or Hanson, or I don't know who did it, they jumped out of the bus. They go, Kramer, it's on fire. So he called the fire department, called my mom, come and pick me up, and we saved it, because if he had called, it would have burnt down. But he didn't tell him who he was or nothing. Now, that was the craziest wrestling story I got.
Let me repackage that. You stop at the ice cream shop on your way home from a wrestling tournament
to call mom to pick us up,
because you need to find a phone. And was it not open? Like what?
No, it wasn't open.
So this was a payphone on the outside, and then you guys stop at the payphone and notice the ice cream shop's on fire. So then instead of calling home quick, you call the fire department, and they come and put it out. Otherwise, the thing would have burnt to the ground.
Yeah, because it had big flames back in their kitchen. I remember just flaming it.
Oh, that's wild. I hope you at least got a couple free cones out of the deal down the road.
Kramer never said,
yeah,
he just called, and that was the end of the deal. And then they saved it because it's still there today.
I would have at least thrown one bucket of water on it to say, I helped put the fire out. Yeah. Oh, that's wild. What a cool story.
But when you're just a kid, but I just always stuck with me, that story.
Well, we got to get into another big one here. So you're sitting in a regular chair here, but most of the time you're wheelchair bound. You've got a wheelchair that you move around in.
Totally wheelchair bound.
Totally. Like paralyzed from the waist down kind of deal?
Yes.
Okay. And so that's where most people from town probably associate you with is in the wheelchair, because if there's a wrestling event in town, if there's a wrestling tournament, you're there. Right?
Yes.
And you're attending. And so walk me back to that, because has it been 25 years?
It happened December 27th, 2002. So
okay.
Say start to 2003.
So
22 years. Or 21 years, yeah.
Take me back to the day 21 years ago when you get up in the morning and you get up and stand up out of bed. Walk me through that day.
Okay, so I was working at the Kent Research Farm at the time, and I had some vacation, and it was the end of the year, and you got to use it up, and I had like half a day left. So I took a half a day off vacation, and Willie Gatson, remember Willie, back here, athletic director?
So to set the stage, Willie Gadsden was the athletic director at the time.
No, he wasn't.
No, he was coming in.
No, he'd already left.
He'd already left.
But I got to be really good friends with him when he was here.
Okay.
And he was a wrestling guru, just like Dan Gable. And
Yes.
he loved wrestling. And I got to know him. And he would help Chad occasionally on Sunday nights over at Iowa City High. And I says, Willie, you're helping me out. I want to do something for you. And he kept talking about this tree he wanted to cut down in his yard. And it was a big pine evergreen tree. I said, well, I can do that sometime. So that day was the day I chose to do that. It was 50 degrees that day. It was a really nice day.
In December.
Yes. Super nice day. And I thought I'm going to go over and cut that tree. And so the funny part is I left a note to Karen. I says, I'll see you when I get done tonight. I'll see you when I get done cutting down this tree. Well, shoot, I didn't come home for 3 weeks because I got her. Anyway, so I goes over to cut this tree, and I got over there, and it was a lot bigger than I thought.
Okay.
And he was telling me that his neighbor who had a wire fence, them wire fences, it was kind of a...
So this is the first time you've seen the tree. You and Willie
First time I'd never seen a tree.
You've just talked about this tree that needs to be cut down, and you on your own accord, you're like, you know what? I got a half a day. We've been talking about it forever. Hey, Willie, I'm going to come over and we're going to knock out that tree today. Is that basically, I'm following you? Okay.
And he wasn't home. He was in Indianapolis at a big freestyle tournament. He was not even home. And I called him and I said, I want to cut. He says, well, I'm not home. I said, well, no problem. I don't need your help. So I goes over to cut this tree, and I knew his neighbor was kind of a pain in the butt. And I knew if I dropped that tree from the bottom and it hit his fence and bent it, he'd be mad.
That would be a good deed going punished right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll top it out. And I've cut lots and lots of trees in my life. So I climbed clear up in the tree, and I'm climbing. I thought, man, this tree's big. It's way more than I want. But I said I was going to do it. Of course, I'm stubborn. So I kept climbing and climbing because there's tons of branches. I never had a ladder or nothing because the branches were right.
Do you have like a chainsaw with you?
Yeah, my chainsaw.
So you're free climbing this big pine tree with a chainsaw in your hand, and you're just trying to get up high enough to where you can cut a hunk off the top.
And then
work your way down.
Yeah. So I gets up there, and I was scared because I was up there high. I was probably, everybody says how high was you? I was probably 20, 25 feet off the ground. And I did notice when I first went to get in the tree that it was an old tree, and there was roots on top of the ground. So I think that's what paralyzed me because I hit that root instead of the ground. So anyway, I gets up there. I hesitated for a minute or two. Oh, man. Well, I'm going to do it. So I started the chainsaw, notched it out like I always do. You notch it so it falls the way you want. Notched it, got it all ready. Thought, okay, now I'm going to cut the back. And I paused again, cut the back off. Sucker fell right into the notch. It didn't fall. It fell right into the notch. Sat there. Oh, man, it's cut off. What am I going to do? And about that time, after about 5-10 seconds, it went. It fell. And I didn't want to, it was high, so I went like this to protect my head and knocked me out of the tree.
It just hit you. It just pushed you out.
It pushed me right down to the ground.
So you're not falling, hitting branches on the way down. You're on the outside of the tree.
No, I fell right down the middle of it.
Okay.
I don't know what I hit on the way down. But anyway, by it not falling, I was protecting myself, so I wasn't hanging on to nothing below, and I had a chainsaw in my hand still running. And so it knocked me on the ground. And the chainsaw was like from here to you away from me, sitting on the ground running yet. And I was in excruciating pain.
You never got knocked out?
Never got knocked out, and I was in so much pain. And the chainsaw sitting there running, and I was instantly paralyzed. And that's how it all started.
When you say instantly paralyzed, like you're laying on the ground, how long does it take for you to like do a self check and have you realize something's really wrong here?
Immediately. Absolutely immediately.
What's it feel like?
Oh, it was so painful. Oh my God, it hurt.
Like, can you equate it to like 100 times more than this? Like,
yeah, I mean, I can't. It hurt so bad, and it never let up. It just kept hurting because I remember. Well, anyway, backtrace a little bit. Willie's son. I went to the house, and his son and mother were there, and I said, "Hey, I'm coming to cut down the tree." Well, his son, who was like 12 years old, Kyvan must have been watching me, and he probably says, "Mom, he's on the ground." So they called the ambulance.
Because that was my next question. How long did you lay there? So
luckily, someone was home, because I would have tackled that even though no one was home. So then that would have really been bad.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm in Iowa City. He lived in Iowa City, so it probably didn't take that long to get there. But about the pain, though, I remember, you're in and out of it. And I kept telling the doctor, "Give me some more pain meds." I said, "I can't stand it." He goes, "If I give you any more, you're going to be dead." I says, "Give me more." Oh,
yeah.
It hurt. I mean, it was bad.
Wow. So, okay, when does reality set in? So you're in the hospital, and I'm sure is there ever a time where you're telling yourself, this will pass, like I'm going to be okay? Like when does it
reality
when
set
does
in?
The doctors come in? When do you like get the news and it starts to sink in that you're not going to walk?
Okay, I'll never forget it. So they got a surgeon, and they did surgery that night. It was probably 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And of course, everybody's hearing about it back in Wilton or whatever. And the doctor come in after surgery, and he tells me, "You're paralyzed, and you're going to be paralyzed the rest of your life." And I says, "What's the chances that I'm not?" And he said, 1 in 100. And that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Wow.
But then I was determined I was going to walk. But I worked my ass off, but I never, ever got over the hump to walk. But I mean, up there so then they took me, I'm there like 2 weeks, and then they take me up to rehab. I don't know nothing about rehab or what you're talking about. So they said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "I don't know." So they had a rehab place in Genesis West and in Davenport. So they took me there, and I was there and working my butt off trying to walk. And the gal that was helping me, she said, "I never had anybody as determined as you to walk." She's supposed to spend 45 minutes with me. She'd spend 2 hours with me every day.
What is that?
She would work with me through her lunch hour every day.
So what is, when you say work with, like, what is that like? Like, what at that point when you are completely paralyzed, what are you focusing on doing? Just any kind of feeling or sensation? Like,
no, you won't. I don't know, and I'm going to tell you, this is crazy. I laid there for 2 weeks in Iowa City. I was a strong, hard-working guy.
Yeah.
I couldn't even push up in my wheelchair. I was that weak. I got that weak in those 2 weeks. So when you don't have no legs, I couldn't even balance. I couldn't even sit up on a bed. So that's what they start working with you.
Your core.
Your core. You don't have no core. So they start working with your core, and that's really scary. Well, sit up. I couldn't. And then they start working the core, and the gal I had has the same name as my wife. Her name was Karen Steidler. The greatest woman there was. I love her to death. She was awesome. And she spent 2 hours with me every day working with me. And anyway, so then they set you up, and they go, "Try to move your arms." So then you try to move your arms without falling over. And then pretty soon they give me a volleyball. Okay, take that volleyball, move it around up above your head. See if you can do that. Like I said, I worked my butt off every day. And then they got me a big ball, like the big bouncy balls, and real big ones. See if you could do that. And then see if you could start throwing the ball and catching the ball. And that's what they had to get all your core strength. And Chad, I mean, he was...
Chad, your son.
Yep. 16. He was 16 years old, and my daughter was a senior in high school, and it was devastating for them. So they'd come up.
They were in high school during this.
They both come to see me all the time, and then Chad would say, "Hey, I'm going to go up with Mom," and he'd just leave school, and so he was. When he did that, that helped me so much because I needed support. I needed him there to.
Mm-hmm.
And so he'd start playing. Just like we did at home, we started playing catch. I'd throw in the ball, and he'd throw it back, and then we'd get the horse around. But then I had to get the core, and then they put me in a bed, and they go, "Okay, now we want to see if you can get up in bed so you get out of bed." I couldn't do that. So then you work with that, moving around, getting your body moved in bed because the bed's soft, so it's different. And because when I work with the ball, they had me sitting on a hard bed, hard thing. And then Leo Ochiltree, my brother-in-law, he built me a bed just like the therapy bed. So I had that at home to work with. So I was doing everything under my power to get going.
We talk about 106 direct family members. When this accident happens and word gets out that Paul's hurt really bad, and by the way, he's paralyzed from the waist down, there had to have been a overwhelming wave of like love and support, right? Did it get to a point where you felt like you had no privacy or no time to process?
I needed them. But that's funny because I got hurt on that. I think it was a Friday. Saturday, I was in intensive care, and I had 50 people come to see me.
Yeah, that's
but
what
they
I'm
weren't
saying.
They weren't all family, but I had friends and family, and they says, "Well, you can't go in there. He needs to rest." And I told that nurse, I says, "They come to see me. I want to see every single one of them."
Yeah, I want to take as much energy as I can. You know,
so all 50 of them people come in at 2 at a time, and I got to see them, and that was really special for me.
Yeah. Gets me kind of weepy-eyed thinking about it. It's pretty nice. That's really special. So, okay. You're going through physical therapy. You're rebuilding your core and everything else.
That was really scary because here I am, a strong guy, and I couldn't even lift my body. I thought, this is awful. I can't even lift my own body. That really scared me. I couldn't do that.
But you also have a farm.
Yeah.
So then you have the stress of like, hey, what about our livelihood, our farm, the ecosystem of the farm? So who helped? What happened there?
Well, see, we had some bad years with the farm because we got floods. So me and Robert decided that one of us needed to get a job. So I got a job at the Kent Research Farm. So that's where I was working. And thank God I had that job because I had a lot better insurance, down the road. But I mean, I didn't get hurt at work, but yet I had profit sharing building up from being there. So that helped me there. So I just, I couldn't do that anymore. So.
Not to keep on the bummer subject, because I know there's some blessings here, but that first Christmas what was that like? I have to ask, because reality is set in by the time December 25th hits from December 6th?
No, it was a whole year because I got hurt 2 days after Christmas.
You got hurt 2 days okay, so this was 2 days after, okay.
So I had a whole year.
Fine. So you had a great Christmas day.
Yeah. But I had a lot of, I was so determined I was going to walk. And that's, you talk about the blessings. The big blessings was I lived in small town Wilton. If I lived in New York City, ain't nobody there going to help you. I had neighbors come in. Earl Dinkman, who lives right by me, he come in and helped me. I had another neighbor, Don Gillen, come in and help me. Another neighbor, Dick Stead, come in and help me. And another neighbor, Richard Holiday, come in and help me. I had Peggy Allen, who used to have an office over there.
Yeah.
She used to help me. Paul Reed. I had all these friends. And, I mean, them just the ones that come all the time, plus all the other ones that were always there to support me. And Leo made me equipment so I could do stuff at home. But back to that day that you said, what family? I had my sister and family lived in Laramie, Wyoming. They come home to see me right away next week. Then they had benefits for me. They had one out here. I don't know if you was around then. They had a big benefit that the Wilton Wrestling Club put on. They had it out there at the Junction or whatever you call it now. Had a big benefit there. And then we had this idea that if you could get stem cell and maybe get to walk, so we investigated all that with Chad, his girlfriend Michelle, and her mom, and they had a benefit for me to send me to Germany. So the Wilton, the Chad was wrestling at Iowa at that time then. And so through all the Iowa wrestling and all the Wilton people, they raised a lot of money to send me to Germany. But the bottom line is I had a lot of support, but none of it helped me. I didn't get nothing out of it.
You probably know more about your specific condition with your paralysis than anybody. How does technology start to fit in? Are there things like, are you still in tune with some of the things that are out there, or are you living your life right now and, you know, what might come up might come up?
I'm just living my life, what come up. Another thing, the doctors did everything they could, but they just kind of send you home and like,
yeah,
see you later. I mean, I never, ever seen them surgeons ever again. You know, they didn't like come back in a year. It's like they just kind of left me hanging, but that part wasn't nothing outstanding. I always wonder if I went somewhere else, because they say if, you know, well, if I went to Mayo Clinic, maybe it would have been better. Who knows? I mean, how would you ever know?
Yeah.
Because what happened is what they told me is I don't know nothing about the spine, but you have all your, they damaged, there's T1 through 12, and I damaged 2, T11, and T12, and then below there's 6 of them called L. I can't think what the T and L say. And I burst L1, and that threw fragments of bone into my, you have a whole bunch of cords down in your, like a ponytail down in
like
there.
at the bottom of your pelvis, like where your butt is.
And them got severed, enough of them that they called that it paralyzed me. But I'm incomplete. That means that's why I have that feeling that I was telling you about.
Yeah. Let's talk about that quick, because you had a really bad leg pain right before we went on, and you said that you'll just randomly get these pains in your leg that make you just wince really bad. And you said people sometimes think there's something wrong with your eyes, but you're just, the pain is, because you strike me as a guy that has a pretty high pain threshold.
I do, and that's bad, so yeah.
Yeah, so you got a guy like yourself who's got a high pain threshold. If you're wincing, that must be pretty bad. And so tell me about that. Like when the leg pains come, what's it like? How long does it last?
Well, you don't know when. Sometimes, occasionally, I kind of describe it like if you ever got shocked by electric fence, but I mean, way worse. But sometimes you feel it, just like you're going to touch that fence, you know you're going to get it. Sometimes it'll give you, say, one's coming. And it'll sometimes hit me like 5 or 6 times right in a row. 1, 2. And then sometimes just one constant pain, but it's really bad pain, and you don't know when you're going to get them. And so,
does it wake you up?
Oh yeah, I never get a good night's sleep because they'll wake me up.
Oh my god,
they'll definitely wake me up. Absolutely.
Oh,
if I can get 2 or 3 hours straight, that's a good night.
And it's an everyday thing.
Every day.
Other than that, do you have any feeling? Like, if I hit your toe, like, would it hurt?
No, I don't have feeling, but yet I have that pain. You know,
that's what's so strange.
Yeah. So it must be like phantom pain or whatever. But I always tell my wife, I says, I just wish everybody could just feel it once so they know how bad it is, you know. But I don't wish that pain on anybody. But you know, just so it's so really hard to describe.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a pain that no one has felt unless they have your condition, where it's like this. Yeah, it's called like ghost pains or phantom pains or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So where does the, what I would almost call the Daredevil complex come in? It's a superhero thing. So Daredevil, are you familiar with Daredevil? So Daredevil he became a superhero. He was a normal guy, but through an accident, he becomes blind.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, so I'll give you the synopsis. Daredevil, he's a regular guy. In a freak accident, he becomes blind, but because he became blind, all his other senses are heightened, and he's able to become this amazing superhero. Even though he's blind, he can fight off some of the toughest guys and dodge bullets and all that stuff because of his senses are so heightened. you lost your lower body mobility, but has there been anything else that's been heightened because of it? Not superpowers, but just like in your day to day, like things you do different, the blessing because of that.
I can't, people think that I'm super strong upper body, but I'm not, because I just do what I have to do to get around, but not really, but there's a lot of blessings as far as people, but not really physical.
Well, one thing you told me when we first got here is you're like, I'm in my younger years, I wasn't much of a conversationalist, kind of kept myself. But then you were telling me now you can have a conversation with anybody. I mean,
that probably helped a lot.
I can tell you, you're, for someone who enjoys having conversations with people, you're a very easy person to talk to and have a convo with. I have to imagine that skill or that ability has only become better because of this.
I definitely would agree with that 100%, because of, so many people dealing with me, and, like I'd be embarrassed if a girl talked to me, or if you told me, hey, so-and-so likes you, it'd make me get a red face when I was in high school and stuff and that kind of stuff. And then I tell people I had so many nurses see me, it don't bother me one bit, because, when I was in the hospital those 2 weeks, I probably had 30 different nurses, working with me and stuff. So that don't bother me. And then that has probably helped me as far as communicate with people, because I reached out and people reached out to help me. And then, of course, they're helping you. See, I used to go to the mall all the time. All these people I mentioned that helped me, they went to the mall with me. And I had braces I put on. And then I'd get up with a walker. And then they'd follow me with a wheelchair, because I get really tired and I have to sit right down.
Because you'd be holding your whole body up, right? It'd be like doing a whole static dip.
I walk like a robot all through the mall. I did that for 10 or 12 years, 2 or 3 days a week.
I bet your triceps are ridiculously strong.
And a lot of people, I'd see it though. I had a lot of people I didn't know come up to me at the mall and say, you're such an inspiration watching me do that. But to me, I said, oh, thanks. But I mean, I was trying to get on my feet. That's what I was trying to do. So I spent many, many hours down there at the mall trying to get on my feet. And another guy used to help me. He's passed away, Ed Searing. Never knew the guy at all. And he came up to me up at the mall one day, and he said, hey, you need any help? And he started helping me and become good friends. So I've made some good friends through what I went through, that's for sure.
It is kind of amazing when a tragedy strikes. Of course, you have the people that you would hope be there. Most of them are there. Sadly, a couple might not, because they just don't know how to deal with it. But on the other end of it, when tragedy happens, you have people that come out of the woodwork that you're just like, I can't believe that person took the time.
You're exactly right. They definitely have people like that.
Tell me about that.
Well, just like people, just like Peggy Allen. I knew her, but not super well. And she'd come and she just wanted to help me. And she'd come to the Y and help me. And another one that helps me is Toots Garvin, used to help me all the time. And I mean, and I knew who she was, but I didn't know her personally. And she spent many, many hours with me. We used to go to the pool. So when I quit going to the mall, what happened was I went out, make a long story short, I fell off a shower stall on vacation and I busted my femur. And they said, well, you don't have a lot of stuff to fasten to because you don't have strong bones. And that scared me. And so after that happened, I quit walking at the mall because I thought I can't afford to have a break again. So then I spent many, many hours going down the Y, and I could walk in the pool at the Y, the small pool. So that's where Toots Garvin used to help me all the time. And Dan Crackle, I had these people, they reached out and helped me.
It's got to make your heart so full it feels like it's gonna blow,
Yeah.
Yeah, it means a lot. And you do. You have people that during those crazy events and those life-altering events that just show up and you're like, wow. And makes you want to do that kind of stuff too when you can, Because when you feel that love, you just want to give it right back. You want to find a way to.
Yeah, and a couple, I hate to leave names out. People help me, but I'm drawing a blank.
I don't know how you could possibly name all the people that have.
No, but I mean, it actually come and besides, doing special things, these people actually went to the Y and stuff like that. Jim Ayers' sister, I can't think of her name. I'm drawing a blank.
Pull up Jim Ayers' sister on Facebook. I'm kidding.
Anyway, she used to help me.
We'll see if we can find her.
And then her husband, he come in, and I had people come. See, I had a van. I got it first. And so I had all these people come in and built me a garage.
Jeez.
And then, so how do you pay back all these people?
That brings up an interesting question. How hard is it for a man who's just worked for everything he's had his whole life? How hard is it to display grace during all of this, and probably still today? Because it's very hard to just accept and not feel the need to reciprocate. That's exactly. Grace. Just being able to accept and not feel the need to do anything other than that. And that's hard to do, especially for a man, especially for like a working man, like a guy that works with his hands. It's very hard to practice grace. How did you navigate through that? Because I got to imagine there was a big learning curve there.
Well, that's why I got to bring up some other guys, because Tom Owen and Jim Einfeld, them two come and they poured all this cement at my house so I could build a garage. And then Kenny Morrison, West
Why am I getting choked up over cement, Paul? I'm getting choked up over cement, but go ahead, please.
Kenny Morrison, they're from West Liberty. They come over and they built this garage for me, and Jim Noble come in.
I better not be the only one sobbing up over this. Excuse me. That's just insane.
Got a lot of help from Jim Noble. Kids used to go to Wilton School.
Man, you're making me a mess, Paul.
But I'm feeling bad because I'm throwing out names and I'm afraid of it. And then all these guys I work with at the research farm, Scott Bolin and John Bierman and Brant Bowling.
I don't even know these people.
They all come and help me. I mean, the list goes on and on, so I feel bad because I'm sure I'm leaving some people out. But, they literally come in and built me a garage, because my garage was only big enough for a S10 pickup. Well, I had to have a lot of room, and I bought this van, so they built this garage, a bigger garage, so I could get in and out of my vehicle.
How wonderful.
And so now I got this, that's where we had this party for all these people.
So how do you learn grace through this? Yeah.
I felt, and then all these benefits, I literally took all the names that signed the book, because I had hundreds of people come out there at the junction, and I wrote, because I felt so bad that I can't think of all, I wrote probably 10 by 11 page thank you to every single person that I had a name of, because I felt so bad, because I'm taking, they're helping me, and how do I say thank you to all these people? And then you had people thank you that did stuff you didn't even know. And through the wrestling community, oh my goodness, I had all these wrestling coaches and wrestling fans from when Chad was right in the middle of his high school career at that time. So they would reach out, and it was unbelievable. And then they had a big benefit for me to send me to Germany, the Iowa wrestling, and they had a big auction for me over at Iowa City for me. And I feel bad because I got all this money to go to Germany, and then it didn't help. But you know how people are; they want to help. So, and like that's why I keep saying, if I was from New York City, I would be just a fly on the wall. So,
isn't it sad?
So grateful that I lived in small town Wilton. If you want to talk about small town Wilton, because people were amazing to me.
And I think that's a message that a lot of, we're getting into graduation season right now. And you have a lot of kids that are saying, I'm going to go off and do. And it's like, please go off and do, because you will appreciate what this is. Even if even if this existence you might have right now in this small town called Wilton, Iowa, isn't like what you would consider the most amazing experience, go do some other things somewhere else, and you'll start to take an inventory in your head of like, you know what, that was a pretty nice community. And I'm sure it's tough for you to hear people saying things like, I can't wait to get out of this town. I can't wait to move away. And it's like, until you do.
Yeah. Well, some people, it's not for them, but the biggest thank you of all is my wife. I've been married. You're going to make her cry. Been married to her.
We're going to cry together in here, man. We're a mess in here. I think we should arm wrestle quick. Get this testosterone level up.
1982, and she could have left me after, I mean, just think what she goes through on a daily basis, all the stuff that she does for me. And she never, ever faltered to think about leaving. Because I know a friend of mine who went to school, and he had an accident. And when he was in the hospital, his wife left him. It's like, she never ever even thought about leaving me. She was there for me. I mean, and I have all kinds of situations every day that she's there and helps me, and I feel bad for her, but she wouldn't have any other way.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I think if something like this happens where you're paralyzed, any man looks at his wife, and there's, like you said, there's a level of guilt. I feel bad. I'm now not exactly who you married, and never will I be. I'm still the same guy, but I'm in a wheelchair now. And yeah, you don't want to become a burden, and I'm sure that goes through your head, but is there an element of fear where you're like, I'm scared she might leave me, even though you know better, right?
No,
like I know if this happened to me, I know my wife would never go anywhere.
No, I never ever had the fear, but I just feel sorry for her sometimes because she got to get the wheelchair in and out and help me in the bathroom. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And
do you feel like your marriage has gotten more connected from an emotional standpoint and a conversation standpoint? Or is it about the same?
About the same.
Maybe that's a good thing. It hasn't changed.
And then, and like my kids, they tease and stuff and treat me the same, and
as it should be. Yeah. Well, like you had a thing go with your foot there. Steve Shirk walked in and he goes, "What'd you do? Step on a nail?" Yeah. And that's just funny, right? As it should be. Like, you don't want to be treated any different. And I think that's funny. You step on a nail. It's great. And you laughed and I laughed, and that's the way it should be. And that's friendships and relationships. And
well, this is funny. I think it's funny, but some people think it's cruel, but I got a good sense of humor. So Chad meets his girlfriend, who he married now, years later, but he met her and he's going with her, and he says, "My dad's a real D-I-C-K.
Oh, okay.
I bet you when you meet him, he won't even stand up and shake your hand."
Oh, so she didn't know.
She didn't know.
Oh, man, that's funny.
And he was so mad. She's one of those, didn't take humor. She thought he was so mean. Oh, I think it's funny.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. And just to throw her right to you, oh, that's wonderful.
And it was, the night I met her I wasn't supposed to meet her that night, but we showed up and we weren't supposed to. Anyway, and and then she sees that.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful.
But I mean, I have a sense of humor. It didn't bother me a bit. Not like tell them it's all no big deal to me.
This means a lot that you'd come in here and share all this with me. I feel like we've got a lot more to cover here, but what time is it, Casey? Have we been going an hour already? 50 minutes. This is great. Jeez. This is great.
Well, I told you if it got past 10 o'clock, you'd take me out for supper.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. That I will. Gladly. We'll get good parking. We'll be able to pull right up to the front.
Well, that's another thing you never knew. You talk about the wrestling. I went to the state tournament every year, never missed a year from about 1992 to now. One time I missed. And the year I got hurt, it was January.
Yeah.
I went to state tournament that year.
You did.
And
what was that like?
And you go on these skywalks. It's like, how do you get around? Well, you don't realize it, but there is elevators where you need them. And I wouldn't know it. They're off the side there. You know, you learn a lot about handicap parking. But I always say, I don't, you know, I can wheel from here to Artie's. I don't care. The only reason I need a spot, I got to have a spot where I don't get blocked in. I don't have to park in a handicap spot, but I don't want to get where I can't get in my car. It's happened to me only 2 times over the years.
That car you've got, why the car versus a continuing van? I'm guessing
I had a van.
You said the van, but did it die a natural death or what happened with that?
I would never go back to it. I love my car so much better, so much faster, because with a van, you know, like say it's 0 out, got to open the door. It opens real slow. And then you got to bring the lift out, and it's real slow. Then you got to get on it, go all the way up, and then go inside, and you got to shut the door. It's a 7-minute process, where with that, I could be going in a minute and a half.
How's it work? You just lift yourself from your chair into the car and then just grab your chair and throw it in?
No, I got to take it apart. It comes apart. The wheels come off.
Oh.
Both the wheels come off, the back comes off, and the seat comes off, and I throw them next to me, and then I throw the main thing in next to me. But I got to have a nice car that's got some room, you know. So that's why I like that car, because it's easy to get it in and out of.
Yeah.
But see, back to when you got hurt, you don't know how to do nothing. You had to learn how to be in a wheelchair. Another thing you didn't think about, this Genesis West up there has a car in there with just the car, you know, not the engine or nothing. So you can learn how to get in and out of a car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How you going to learn? You know, so that Karen, she says, okay, today we're going to try to teach you to get into the car, because when you go home, you got to be able to get in a car.
So they just have a makeshift car.
Yep. And so I worked with that a couple of days. And she says, well, you're good enough. So then the first time I got out, I went to Drant to watch Chad wrestle over Drant.
Yeah. What was that like the first time you got back behind the wheel? Because how long was it?
Oh, I wasn't behind the wheel on that, but that was really easy for me because I drove skid loaders with arm controls and everything.
So to have a lever to run the gas and brake was no big deal.
And I had a gal that was real, what you call protective. And she says, well, now that you've been in the car, we're going to take you out and drive, and we're going to go over to the fairgrounds, and then I'll get you out, and then you can drive. And then, you know, so you learn how to drive. And I says, I think I can handle it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, somehow I convinced her. She got me in the driver's seat, pulled out on the road, drove all the way to my house.
That's
first
great.
Time.
That feeling had to have been great, right?
Yes.
Isn't that did it almost feel like you got your license back? Like,
yes.
Or for the first time?
Yes. So anyway, she had to look at my house to see if it, you know, there's all these things you don't think about. Say, can you get in your bathroom? Can you get in your tub? Can you get in your house? That's another thing. All the neighbors come in because I didn't have that in the garage yet. And they built me a ramp so I could get, because I had 3 steps to get in my house. And when I come home for the first time, they had built me a ramp so I could get in my house. But luckily, my house doors are all big enough. My bathroom was big enough that I didn't have to remodel anything in my house. Inside the house.
That's an expense a lot of people don't think about, is having the width and the move around.
And you see people building houses these days, like say your mom and dad, you know, they're in their 60s, build a new house. Oh, well, maybe you should think about building something that's handicap accessible, because what if you break a hip or something? You can't. So you see people building houses that way, but you still see people build these houses with these steps and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So and then when I built that garage on it, I put a deck between my house and the garage, and so I was able to tear out that ramp, but I can get in my house.
Brag about your kids for a minute.
My daughter, she graduated in 03, and big thing about her is she went to college right away, and in May when she graduated, 07, she had a job within a week after she graduated from college as a teacher. And she started out in Muscatine teaching kindergarten. And then she taught there 8 or 9 years. Well, then she had an opportunity to come to Wilton, or she really wanted to go. And so she had to give up a little pay. But I said, Shannon, give it up now. You'll never regret it. And her husband was teaching in Wilton. So they were both teachers in Wilton. Well, then she moved up to 3rd grade. Now, I don't think she wants to go back to kindergarten, but I don't know for sure on that. But she's been teaching. She taught 1 year at the old elementary, and now she's been at the new one since. Well, it's hard to believe she just turned 40 and she's already been teaching 18 years.
That's wild. But what a testament though to the school system. You have people that are taking a pay cut to teach there. Yeah. And obviously there's ties to the community and everything, but still, pay cut's a pay cut. So right. That's a big deal.
Yeah, because I says if you wait another 5 years, the pay cut's going to be bigger. So just take the little pay cut now, and you'll make it up over the course of time, and you're where you want to be in Wilton. She's got 3 kids. My grandson is in 8th grade, Brigham, and a grandson, Finney, who's in 6th. Now you make me emotional. And my granddaughter, Estella's in 2nd. She's 8. So Finney's going to be, well, his birthday's Saturday. He's going to be 12, and then Brigham's birthday's next week. He'll be 14, and Estella is 8.5. And they live right by me. So that was another thing. They built a house. They wanted to find a place to live. I says, well, maybe we could build a house. So it's basically from here to the corner down here. It's about 400 or 500 yards from us. They built a house. But that was another blessing, because back in the day in Muscatine County, they're not very good about giving you a place to build a house. So we had to go in front of a board. And the day we went in front of the board, one person was missing. They said, well, you still want to do it because you have to have a majority vote? I said, yeah. Well, I think the reason I got it right away is because they called me up to talk. I says, well, I really need my daughter there to help me if I need anything. Well, that helped because I was in a wheelchair, so they passed that she could build a house back there.
Because otherwise you would have just been regular old Paul Beatty, just I'd like to have my daughter live close.
Yeah, because I know some people in our neighborhood that fought and never could get a place to build a house.
That is a blessing.
So I think that really helped, because I said, well, I need my daughter near me. You know, they want it separate so that she has her own well. Everything's separate. She has her own well. She has her own electricity, everything. You know, they don't want you sharing stuff out there.
But isn't that like kind of a dream of like not only a parent, but that a grandparent to be like, have your grandkids within, well, in your case, they can just run over to your place, right?
Oh, yeah, they're there. We see them. If we don't see them over 2 days, it's like you miss them because we see them all the time.
How great.
And then Karen, so Shannon's 3rd grade teacher, her husband Tim, he's a high school math teacher, so they can ride to work together 90% of the time. And then their kids all go to Wilton. And then Karen, she's a para at Wilton. She's been teaching there for 33 years. So she's in Wilton.
Wow.
And so our whole family gets to go to Wilton that way.
What about Chad? Brag about him for a second.
Oh, and Chad, he's...
we got to sneak a plug in for Chad.
Chad was 2 years behind. He graduated in 2005. And he went to Iowa to wrestle. Then when he got out of college, his girlfriend at the time, she wanted to go to further education. So they ended up at the West Coast. So they live in Portland, Oregon for 6 years. Then he lived in Washington State for 1 year. And then during COVID, he said, well, the next move's you, because she could work from home. So then he got the job in Iowa City. So they moved to Iowa City. Now they're in Iowa City, and he runs the Hawkeye Wrestling Club over there. And he gets to do some of this. If you listen, he sometimes gets to be the commentator under the play-by-play of the Iowa Hawkeye Wrestling meets.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I gotta connect with Chad. I haven't talked to him forever. I know he's a busy guy, but I'm sure we'll connect at some point.
Yeah, he can tell you a lot of stuff that's going on over there, and he helps coach the wrestling team.
Well, and the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, like if you're in the wrestling ecosystem, you know that club, like that's the club, right? I mean,
Right. And it's funny because two of his teammates are Ryan Morningstar's assistant coach, and Daniel Dennis is the Hawkeye club coach, and Chad runs. So all three of them are the exact same age at Wrestle for Iowa.
star-studded team.
And they got to all stick around there and be at Iowa City now. So,
and I got to imagine that's pretty rewarding for you to still. I mean, you can be as involved in that wrestling ecosystem as you want.
yep, we got season tickets, so we go over and watch all the meets. And well, this weekend we're going to his big banquet Saturday night for the Hawkeye Club.
You were
banquet.
saying that's like their big fundraiser.
That's one of them.
That's one of them for the year.
Yeah. And so that's Saturday night. So we're going to go over there. It's in Cedar Rapids is where it's at. So we're going to go to that. And so, yeah. So, and then he don't have any kids, but he lives there in Iowa City now. That's the first time he ever owned a house. When he was in college, 5 years of college, I think we figured he lived in about 8 different places.
No kidding. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Good for him. Getting all cozy over there.
He got really good friends with Pete Robles, and he lived with Pete Robles.
Yeah, Pete's a good guy.
A couple different times. So,
yeah, I actually have to bring in. I got to talk to some of those guys up there at the school. They're wanting to raise some money for the weight room up there, and they're trying to do some private fundraising just to make some quick improvements over there. Kind of get that weight room brought up to speed. So we're going to try and work with them and try to help them raise some awareness and some funding for that too. So yeah, I know Pete's involved with that too.
Yeah, me and Chad got when Lance Peterson was there, he got to play for Lance 1 year, and that was the first year Wilton never went to the playoffs. But anyway, he helped coach with Lance 1 or 2 seasons, and he says, "Hey, I got a job for you. You want to make a little extra money?" Me and Chad painted that entire weight room.
Oh, you did?
And everything that I could reach from here, that ceiling, I painted, and he painted everything else. And all that cement block in there. It was really hard because it's got them little grooves in it.
And it just sucks the paint too, especially if you're going something different than like white or anything like that.
So I don't think it's been changed since, but we painted blue, beaver blue at the bottom, and then of course he had to do everything up high, and found out it was a big room.
You mentioned Lance Peterson. He's coming on the show.
Is he?
He said as soon as school gets out.
Yeah.
I actually called him. I was kind of flattered. I called him. I'm like, "Hey, I've got this little podcast thing. I'd like for you to come." He's like, "I know. I watch them all." I'm like, "Really? Oh, that's kind of cool."
Ask him about the painting job.
I will. He's probably watching right now. You know, we'll have to have him comment on that. He probably owes you a few bucks for the free labor.
Say, "Hey, you paid Chad, but you didn't pay me, Lance."
He's on your deadbeat list.
Yeah, I'm coming after you.
Oh, that's great. Well, I hope the event is wonderful this weekend. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. I hope you have a few people that say they saw you here on the show, which I'm sure you will. What I have found, the secret recipe to this in many cases is somebody that's beloved in Wilton. Everyone watches it. So I have to imagine over the coming couple days, this video will get viewed a lot. Casey, I'm sure we've had quite a few people popping in and out of this, and a few people probably got teared up with us, I'm sure. So
well, I want to thank all the, like I said, all the many, many people of Wilton, Iowa, and all the surrounding communities that helped me through all these years. And yeah, like you said, when one door is shut, another one opens, and that has definitely been the case, because I've met a lot of people that I would have never, ever met or got to know good if I hadn't got hurt, and they're really great people. And then all the people in Wilton that reached out and helped me over the years. I mean, I can be another thing about, you can't believe I can go to Aldi's, I can go to Walmart, and the people that will say, "You need help with that wheelchair," all the time. All the time.
A lot of restoring and humanity, right?
I mean, there ain't a day goes by. I can go to Muscatine today, and I guarantee you, if I went to 3 or 4 different places, there'd be at least one person that want to help me put my wheelchair away. Or, "You need help." And I say, "No, thank you," because, I've done it so many times, but that's sure nice that people are always wanting to help. Always wanting to help.
That makes me feel good to hear that because, you know, you get caught up in the day to day and sometimes you can get frustrated and, you know, I just, you know, but you get cranky, but then you hear stories like that and you're like, there are good people everywhere. There are literally everywhere. There's far more good people out there than there are bad. Problem is a lot of the bad ones get a lot of the limelight. And I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's always people wanting to help me. Always. And then they go, how do you do, you know, cause they'll want to help me load my car with the groceries, or they'll want to help me unpack my groceries. And, you know, sometimes I let them help me, you know, cause they're persistent and say, yeah, you can help me.
Yeah.
You know, cause you don't want to step on toes, but yet I don't really need help. But
in other words, you're almost kind of making a public service announcement here. You're almost like, I know you want to help. I'm good. I'll holler at you if I need a hand.
No, but I mean, I really appreciate they want to help.
Well, yeah, because like when you're mentioning this, I'm thinking, well, yeah, like I would feel like I would want to help. And it's almost refreshing to hear you say, and sometimes like, I've got taking this wheelchair thing down to a science here, you know?
But I mean, if an ugly guy like you wants to help me, I turn you down. But if a good looking woman wants to help me, get to hang out with her a little more.
You might accidentally drop the wheel and be like, I can't reach it.
Say, yeah, you could definitely help me.
Yeah. Well, there again, blessings everywhere, isn't there? Oh, Paul, this has been fun, man. Thank you. This really made I needed this. I feel like you poured a lot of energy into me, and this means a lot that you would come in and hang out. So this has been a good chat.
Well, I was kind of didn't know if I wanted to do it or not.
I know, because when I first talked to you, you're like, I don't know. I'm like, no, just.
But see, when you called me, I don't know I wanted to save your number, but I didn't want to talk to you because I wasn't ready to answer you yet. Oh. And so I just clicked it, and then I had your number. Shit, you see. And so he calls me right away. I mean, instantly you called me. Thought, oh shit, I gotta make a decision quick.
Yes, because I will. If you're gonna respond to a text, like I gotta just make a quick phone call. Yeah, I kind of painted you into a corner, so I'm glad I did.
Yeah, because I literally just hit it just long enough for it to start to ring, and then I hung up. And literally within 2 seconds, you're calling me.
This will give me an opportunity to figure out how to say no politely, and then I call and wrangle you into it. Well, I'm glad I did. And you know what? I bet a lot of people who either watch this or will watch this are glad that you agreed to do this too. And
well, I just don't.
It's a real gift.
I mean, I threw out a lot of names, which I maybe shouldn't have, but I'm sure I left out people that I shouldn't have. I appreciate everybody to help me, but you know, when you're in this situation, you kind of like freeze and you can't think of the names you want to say.
And everyone's always understanding of that. And you know what? They're not looking for that. They helped you out because they wanted to help you out. And so if a shout out happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So.
And then the Candy Kitchen, I really enjoy. I go down there 2 or 3 times a week and just shoot the breeze. And everybody down there is so helpful.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good to have a community. We're in a good one here.
We tease each other and get along good. So,
all right. Well, Paul, we better wrap this up. Otherwise, it will be 10 o'clock and I will owe you dinner. So, Wilton's own Paul Beatty, everybody. Casey, you can play us out whenever you want to here. And man, I got to tell you, this has been great. This has been a lot of fun. And who knows, maybe we'll revisit this one again. Yeah. I'll see you at a wrestling meet though. That's for sure.
Sure, I could.